Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Tony. Message conversations in movies and TV shows can be quite boring if you're just looking at the phone. So in this tutorial, we're going to try to make them a bit more interesting by creating an on-screen message conversation. So we'll use Davinci Resolve for this, and we will create it on the Fusion page. Okay, so I've got this clip on the timeline, and you can find a link to this in the description below. So I'll right click on it and click on New Fusion Clip, then go to the Fusion tab, and I'll rename this one a minute as well. So right click, go up to rename. I will call this one video clip. You can also rename it by hitting F2. Okay, so let's start creating, and grab here a background, and we'll rename this background. We'll call it BG Blue. Okay, and let's view that. So to view it, we left click and drag it into the viewer, and go up here to the inspector, and we'll change the color. So click here, and you have these tabs across the top. Click on the second tab here, and it will change the hex value. I will type in here 408AB6, and that gives us this blue color. Okay, what I want to do now is to just slightly make this see-through. So I will add here a brightness and contrast node, and we will use this as an opacity. So let's rename it opacity, and let's view it again by dragging it into the viewer. And if we go up here to the inspector, we have RGB and A. Make sure they're all selected, so make sure you select A as well, and then we can use the gain here as an opacity slider. So I'll drop it just slightly here. Okay, now let's add a transform after our opacity. So click here, add a transform. I'm going to rename this to box transform. Okay, and let's view that. Let's drag it here. And with this box transform, we will set our size for our speech box. So I'm going to come up here to the inspector again. First thing I'll do is uncheck use size and aspect. That means I can independently change the X and Y. I will change the X here to 0.8, and I will change the Y to 0.4. Okay, so that gives us our size. And what we can now do, we will add a mask here to our background blue. So click on our background blue and go here and select rectangle. And I want to add a corner radius. So just a very small corner radius. So we'll go here and we'll write 0.15, and let's zoom in. So you can see it's added a corner to these. What we now need to do is add this kind of speech bit at the end. So we'll do that with the polygon tool, and we'll add a little triangle. So with our rectangle selected, click on polygon, and we'll make 3 points. So I'll start here, and then I'll go here, here, and then back to the beginning. And you get this circle and click. So that now gives us our little speech point. So I'll rename this one triangle, and I will rename the rectangle as corner, because that's what we use to change our corner. Okay, so now we have this one, and let's try to match the curve of the triangle with the box. So click on the triangle, and we'll go up here and we'll adjust this border width. So that will expand it, and then that gives us this slight curve, so we can add as much as we need. And of course, if we need to move this, then we can also do that. We can grab this, move it out. We want it to be more like this. Okay, I think that looks all right. Okay, good. Now let's add our text. So let's just move this over, drag in a text node, and we'll merge this text node here after our box transform. And we're going to write in here the first message, which is I can't find your building. Okay, and we'll change here. So let's view the merge first of all. So drag this merge here into the flow. Make sure you're on the text here, and let's change a few things. I'm going to make it regular. I'm going to drop the size down to 0.052. Okay, and I'm going to move it up a bit because in a minute we're going to have the name as well. So let's name this one here message, and then we will grab another one, bring that one in and merge after this one, then view the second merge, and then this second text box we will call name. And with it selected, we'll come up here and we'll type the name. So I'm going to type here Michelle and the time 13:07. So imagine she's just delivering somebody their lunch. I will change the color here to black. So go to the pencils and select licorice, and I will change to italic here as well. Okay, and now of course we need to adjust our size. So let's bring it down here. And then we can move these around as we need to. So maybe somewhere like this, maybe a bit smaller. And we can also tweak this one if we want it to be down more like this. But okay, I think that looks fine. All right, so now we've done that, we can group these together and we will use this as our base to make our other boxes. So let's drag a box over these, right click and say group. And this is now our group within here, okay? So after this group one, we'll add a transform and we will use this transform to animate things. So let's rename this, we'll call it box transform. In fact, we'll call it box animation, this one. So box animation. And we will use this box animation to animate the box. But first what we need to do is to move our pivot. So at the moment, if we change the size here of our box, and let's view our box animation. If we change it here, then it kind of animates and the size gets bigger from the middle, but we want it to get bigger from the right. So to do that, we need to move the pivot point. So with our box animation selected, we can adjust using pivot X and pivot Y. So when we move this over, you'll see we have this kind of green circle with this cross. So this is what we need to adjust. So I'm going to bring it down here. Let me zoom in so you can see it clearer. So there you see it. It's not very clear, but it is what it is. So we'll have it about there. That's fine. So now when we adjust the size, it scales from that point, which is what we want. Okay, so let's animate this. So I'm going to go here to frame 35. So 35, and I want the size here to be 0, so 0. Add a keyframe here for the size, and then I will go to frame 40. And at frame 40, I'm going to make the size slightly too big. So I will type in here 0.65. And it will automatically add a keyframe. And then I will go forward to frame 50, and at frame 50 I will change it to the size that I want it to finish at, which is going to be 0.6. So now if we play this back, it animates on, gets too big, and then comes back again. Okay, let's try to make this animation a bit more non-linear. So we'll go up here to the spline editor, select our box animation, and click this here to say zoom to fit. So it's these two little arrows. Then what we can do is do Command or Control A to highlight all the points, hit S to smooth, and now let's have a look at it again. So now it's a bit more non-linear. Okay, now you can of course adjust these individually as well if you want the curve to be slightly different, but okay, I think I'm happy with how it is now. And let's close the spline editor, and now let's also animate our text. So we want our text here to type on. So double click group 1, select the message, and we will animate this write on value over here in the inspector. So let's go to frame 50, and at frame 50 I want it to start. Okay, so let's drag the end here down to the start so it disappears, add a keyframe, and then we'll go to frame 70, and at frame 70 we'll drag this one all the way to the end so it appears. Now let's play back and see what we have. Okay, good, so I'm happy with that. So the box pops on and we've smoothed our animation, and now we've added our text and animated it using the write on function. Okay, so now let's merge our first group and transform in with our video clip. So we'll just close this one and we'll take the output of our box animation and drop it onto the output of video clip. That gives us a new merge. So let's view our media out, and you can either drag it with the left button into the viewer, or you can also click these little dots. Okay, so the right one here puts it in the right view, the left one puts it in the left view. And if you go up here and click, you can have two views. And so far we've just been working with one view. So left click, drag into the viewer here. That gives us our first box. Okay, so now what we can do is duplicate it several times and make our conversation. So click on box animation and let's move this into place. So I'm going to have it come in maybe somewhere like this. Okay, and let's now duplicate it and make the rest of our conversation, and then we will move our animation. So highlight these two and do Command or Control C and Command or Control V. Let's now change these. So I'll call this one Box Animation 2, and I will call this one Group 2. Like this. And if I go into the group here, I'm also going to name these as well, just because we need to select these later on. So I'll call this Message 2, and I'll call this one Name 2, just so we make it easier if we need to view things later on. Okay, so here we will merge this in, and then we're going to move it over here to the right because this is going to be the reply. So let's grab the center here, move it over here. Okay, now you can see we have a problem, and our problem is that our little triangle is on the wrong side. Okay, and we also need to change our name and our text. Let's do the triangle first. So what we need to do is to flip this box with our mask and our triangle here. So go into group 2, and what we want to do here is, let's just move these over here, make a bit of room and move these. So basically what we have here after our box transform, so our box transform, this is what we've done our kind of sizing in. Okay, so we need to add, we need to flip rather in this box transform. So if we go here and we flip horizontally, that will then move our little triangle to the other side. Okay, so that's all we need to do, is go into this box transform and flip this one. Okay, and so now we've done that, we can also change our color. So actually let's go back in here, we'll go on background blue and we'll rename this to background gray. Oops, like that. And then we will change this color as well. So let's give this maybe a slightly gray color. So again, we'll put in a hex value, we'll do 5D5, and we'll do D5D, and then OK. So now that gives us the correct color here. We also need to change our text. So here we'll change our text to look up, and of course we need to move it. So let's just move it here by clicking on this X axis here. So we've got the Y axis pointing up and the X axis pointing left to right. And then we can just bring it over like this. And then we of course need to change our name. So I'm going to change this name to James. Okay, good. So that's our second one. So now if we zoom out and we look at those, so we have two boxes. Yeah, we've got our blue one and our grey one. So now all we need to do is copy and paste these several times for the rest of our conversation. So we'll grab the first group and we'll paste that one, merge it in, and again we'll change the names here So we'll call this one box animation 3, and we'll call this one group 3. And then we'll also go in and name these messages again. So we'll call this message 3. And the reason I'm doing this is just to make it easier when we need to move keyframes later. And we'll also change this one to name 3. And it also is good habit to kind of get into as well. So we've done that, click on the box animation, and we can then adjust our y-axis here and bring it down. Okay, so that gives us our second one. And then let's do our third one. This time we're going to duplicate the second group because this is our grey group. Bring that one in here. And again, we'll change this. Change it to box animation 4 and group 4. And once again, we'll go in here, message 4. And name 4. Okay, so now we've got these two. So let's change the text now in these two. So let's go into group 3. And we need to make a new message here. So we're going to change the text to where is the entrance? Oops. Where is the entrance? Okay, and again, we can move our text, but we can also sort this out later. But let's just do it now. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. We're going to leave the name as it is. Maybe I'll change the time. Let's change the time. Maybe we'll just put an 8. Obviously, it's a short conversation, but anyway, we will change that. And then we'll go into group 4. And in fact, before we do that, let's click on the box animation and we'll bring it down. And go into group 4 and change the message here. And we'll change this to round. Oops. Round the corner. Okay, and move that one as well, and we'll also change our time here to 13:08. Okay, and now we've just got one last one to do, so we'll highlight group 3 and we'll merge this in. And again, we'll change the title here. We'll call this one box animation 5, and we'll call this group 5. Click on OK. Go in here, we'll change these again, message 5 and name 5. Okay, so now we've done that, and we can then move this one down as well. And let's just position these so that they're in the right place. So I think this one here, maybe we can bring down slightly. Maybe this one as well. Something like this. And then these kind of ones will go sort of in between. Okay, so something like that. So we got our conversation. I can't find your building. Look up. Where's the entrance? Around the corner. And then we've got where's the entrance again. So we obviously need to change our text here. And okay, on my way. Okay, good. So that's our conversation done. And let's move this over here. But at the moment, of course, we have a problem. And that problem is that all these boxes animate on at the same time. And of course, we don't want that. We want them to be staggered. So to do that, we're going to move keyframes. Okay, so let's go to the point where we think the second message should come on. So the first one here comes on. I can't find your building. And what she does in a moment is she looks up. Okay, so before she looks up, let's have a reading. So maybe somewhere like, I don't know, 170. And we're going to change this message here, this look up, and we want to move our keyframes. So what we've animated here is obviously our box animation, but we also animated our write on text. So we want to highlight both of these. So highlight box animation, highlight message 2, go to the keyframe editor, and let's expand these two. And let's click here to fit it. So now what we can see are the keyframes that we added. So this is the right on keyframe area here, and this is for our kind of animation of the box. So grab all of these by just dragging a box over, and what we're going to do is just move the first one so it goes here to frame 170. So left click on one of them and drag over like this. Okay, so let's now go back and have another look. Okay, and I think we'd probably have that coming a bit earlier as well. It's maybe a little bit too late. So let's maybe move it to, I don't know, frame 160. Try that, see what that does. So again, let's left click and drag over there. And let's view again. Okay, and I think actually we could even go even earlier here. So let's do 155, and I think that'll be okay. So drag that over. Okay, good. So that's the first two. Now let's decide where our next one should come in. So she looks up, and then she kind of looks back at her screen. So then she starts typing again. So she looks up, and then back to her screen, and then we can say there she starts typing again maybe. So again, we'll select box animation here and make sure we've got them both. Select our box animation and our message. Go into the keyframe editor and make sure these are only showing selected tools. And actually what we've got here is we've still got some things selected. So we only want our box animation and our message 3. So then we can expand these again like this. Drag a box over them, and then we're going to move them up to this marker. So that's going to be the second point. Okay, and let's just view that. So let's view those first 3, see if we're happy with them. So back to the beginning. I can't find your building. Look up. She looks up. And then goes back to her phone, and then types something else. Okay, and then maybe about here, the next one can come in. So again, let's go into our group here. Let's move this group back out of the way. So go into our group, highlight box animation 4, and oops, moved it out of the way there, and our message as well. So those are both highlighted, this one and this one. Okay. And then go into the keyframe editor, and again we've got too many things highlighted here, so let's just click anywhere to kind of deselect and highlight this one and this one. Go back into the keyframe editor, and let's expand these, drag a box around, and then we'll move them so that they start just here. Okay, and let's have a look at that. Okay, and then I think we'll have the last one come in around here. So let's go back here to our flow. We'll close this one. We'll just make sure we click to deselect. And then we'll go into this group 5. Highlight box animation. And we'll also highlight here message 5. Go into the keyframe editor. Again, expand them. Drag a box. And then we'll move these over here. Like this. Okay, good. So let's just view the whole thing again, make sure we're happy with it. So the first one comes on, yeah, so she's reading or she's typing. Then the reply comes, then she looks up. Okay, then she goes back and then starts typing again. Then the reply comes in, then she reads it. And then she replies. Okay, good. So I think I'm happy with that. Okay, 2 things I've noticed. If we zoom in here, on the grey boxes. First of all, the names here need to be moved over to the left, and also I'm not quite happy with how the names show up here on the grey, so I think I'll make the grey a bit lighter, and obviously we'll move those names as well. So to do that, we'll go to the first grey one, which was group 2, open it, go to name 2, and then we can grab our little widget here and then move this over, and then we'll do the same thing with number 4. So open this one and again move this over. Okay, somewhere like this, and then maybe let's change the grey here. So go in here to background grey, go up here in the inspector and go on this one here, the first one, and maybe we'll just lighten this up slightly, just something like that. And let's copy this hex value, and then we can use the same value in group 4 as well. So click on background grey, go here, and then we'll paste the hex value, and then we've got the same color in both. Okay, good. So now if we zoom out, I think it shows up better there. I'm happy with these. Now I'm happy with these as well. All right, so that's it, we're finished. Let's go back now to the edit page and view it once more. Okay, let's just let it render. Okay, and let's play back. So in this tutorial, we've made boxes, we've curved the corners, we've then added a triangle using the polygon tool, we've then added text and animated that using the write on function, and then we've created a conversation by making multiple copies of this and then moving the keyframes. Okay, I hope this video was useful in some way. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial.